I'm William Kumwembe. Hello and welcome to yet another edition of the program Business Time right here on Times Television. This is a magazine program in which we look at some of the major business stories making headlines in the country and beyond. And coming up in the program today, demos bring business to standstill and tough task for new finance minister. We have these and other stories. Stay tuned if you could. Hello and welcome. And in our main story in the program today, business came to a standstill in the country's major cities on Thursday as members of the public took to the streets protesting the May 21 election results. In major cities, most shops were closed, and in those that were open, business was rather slow. Chimwemwe Mangazi has the whole story in this report.
I would say the patronage has been very poor, but not that much. And of course, I know I expected it since those out there marching, they're fighting for a good cause, and they got their own reasons. I cannot blame them. But of course, as a business person looking at the business side of it, one would say it has an impact, but not necessarily down to zero. Yeah, that's my observation. I'd say it's about 60%, or I would say 45 to 60%. But anyway, we'll have the actual figure at the end of the day, then we will know that it has been very bad or not. But for the meantime, I wouldn't say much.
People are not, are coming here to do service. They are afraid of no demonstration. Yes.
Now, new Finance Minister Joseph Mwanamveka might have grinned from ear to ear when President Peter Mutharika announced his 24-member cabinet on Wednesday night. But the jubilation is likely going to be short-lived and turn into a headache for the former Continental Discount House and Malawi Savings Bank Chief Executive Officer when he reports for office at Capitol Hill. We have the whole story in this report fired by Taonga Sabola.
Mwanamveka's immediate task would be to offer quick fixes to an economy which has emerged out of the May 21 elections in tatters. Mwanamveka, a former secretary to Treasury and founding member of the Economics Association of Malawi, ECAMA, steps into the office at the time that the kwacha exchange rate is threatening to run away on the back of weak tobacco earnings and donor inflows. The kwacha, which was trading at around 733 kwacha to the dollar before the elections, now hovers around 800 kwacha. A development analysts believe is likely to fuel imported inflation, with Malawi being a net importer of essential commodities such as fuel and agricultural inputs. As if that was not enough, unrealistic election promises, coupled with massive recruitment and job promotions, have left Capitol Hill facing a bloated wage bill against a fragile resource envelope. And in addition, the new Chancellor of the Exchequer has very little fiscal space to borrow with the economy already in distress, with a monstrous 3.3 trillion kwacha public debt haunting Treasury. ECAMA President Chiku Kalilombe welcomed Mwanamveka's appointment as Finance Minister. The ECAMA chief said Mwanamveka's immediate priorities would be to rein on expenditure to ensure the gap between now and budget presentation should not be detrimental. Kalilombe said going forward, ECAMA expects Mwanamveka to ensure to work at sustaining the stability and, more importantly, ensuring same is used as a platform for sustainable growth.
The Competition and Fair Trading Commission has lamented cases of collusion and bid rigging in some sectors of the economy. CFTC says the vice is common in some government ministries and departments. CFTC Director of Legal Services Martha Kaukonde made the observation when the commission engaged manufacturers on their role in ensuring fair trading. Business Time caught up with Kaukonde.
So when they're bidding for the business, they will do it in such a way that a certain trader wins that business. So next time, it is going to be the turn of somebody else. So that is prohibited in the Competition and Fair Trade Act. We've received several complaints, and we have investigated them. Of course, we're yet to conclude the cases, but we do receive those complaints to say, no, we suspect that so and so rigged the bid. Sometimes you may have several companies that belong perhaps to one entity. So they may bring in similar type of bids, and then it will become suspicious to say, we think there's bid rigging here. So far, because the market is very small, we can say at least we can talk of 10% of the bids. Yeah. Working together with the Public Procurement Authority, the PDA, we have an MOU with them because we thought that they are the specialists in this field, and they are the best people that can handle it. At the same time, they are also limited in terms of the law. They have a time period where they can handle these issues. For us, it's an open-ended period. So if this complaint doesn't fall in their jurisdiction, then it comes to us, we deal with the issue. The Competition and Fair Trading Commission has been conducting workshops throughout the country, and we've dealt with several stakeholders dealing with various business, and we thought it wise that now is the time that we should meet the manufacturers of various products, and we came to Blantyre to meet them and then inform them about what the Competition and Fair Trading Act as well as the Consumer Protection Act talks about, so that they should have at the back of their mind when they're producing products what they should do to safeguard the rights of consumers.
Now, what are manufacturers saying about the issue? Nuo Panjwan is Managing Director of Omega Beverages Limited.
An eye-opener, and it's a very good thing, and there are rights for consumers, rights for manufacturers as well. So any problems that arise within the consumers association or within the manufacturers, at least we know where to go. At least we can come to CFTCA and put a claim to them and ask them for advice, and they would guide us correctly. Eye-opener, as I mentioned, that it's very important so that consumers know what their rights are, number one. Number two, manufacturers should know as well if there is a problem, if there is a monopoly being made or something, we can come to CFTCA and complain to them and tell them this is what is happening. So they protect the manufacturers and the consumers as well, so it's a benefit. Manufacturers in the development of this country, it should be that they should be able to export out of Malawi, bring in the needed much foreign currency, and look after the consumers locally as well, and give them a product whereas they can be satisfied with. Nobody is doing enough, because it's never enough. There's always a leeway, there's always a space, there's always a gap that is left unattended to. So we need to work harder, and we need to work together. That's the main thing. Well, working together meaning in a sense that if we have a market, because we don't have a stability of the currency at the moment, so we cannot say that, let's put the prices on stable and put them, all across Malawi have one pricing. But that's not happening because our currency is not stable at the moment. So probably we should look and working together in the coming future how best we can to protect the consumers and manufacturers as well, and to look forward so that we can benefit our country.
Remember, this is Business Time right here on Times Television, a magazine program where we look at major business and economic news stories making headlines in the country. We'll be right back in 60 seconds. Welcome back. In a quest to entice the youth to take entrepreneurship ventures in agriculture, the Wealth Magazine and Network for Youth Development has embarked on an initiative to create a platform for aggregating young entrepreneurs and their activities across Malawi and escalating the impact of their activities. Chimwemwe Mangazi reports.
This follows news that the organization is bringing together over 170 young farmers and stakeholders from across Malawi to challenge each other on how they can become new generation farmers in pursuit of unlocking the vast potential in the sector. They will converge in Lilongwe on Friday. Wealth Magazine Chief Executive Officer, who is also Network for Youth Development co-founder, Harry Chima, said that Malawi, being an agro-based economy which has a long history of subsistence agriculture, has many young people participating in the subsistence movement, which over the past decades has been dissatisfactory because of the lack of economic empowerment that the subsistence aspect brings. Africa Institute for Corporate Citizenship AICC Market Access Manager Leonard Chimaza said the fora seeks to demonstrate the success and business potential of farming across Malawi for job and wealth creation, whilst connect youth entrepreneurs to business and development organizations.
African Institute of Corporate Citizenship AICC, in liaison with the Network for Youth and Development NYD, have organized an entrepreneurship youth forum. The forum intends to create a platform for youth in agriculture activities to engage with the investors on issues that are related to agriculture. Basically, during the forum, youth from across the country will demonstrate and showcase successes and business potential, the businesses that they are in, and also possibly there will be like a connection between them as youth and also the potential stakeholders in the agriculture sector on how this can be achieved.
The fora is a joint effort of Wealth Magazine, a local quarterly entrepreneur and business magazine, Wealth and Network for Youth Development, AICC, the Development Fund, and GIZ. From Blantyre, I am Chimwemwe Mangazi.
And proceeding with the program, let us now have a look at how the Malawi kwacha is faring against major trading currencies on the foreign exchange market. Now, in business news from elsewhere, U.S. President Donald Trump has conferred the nation's highest civilian honor on a Reagan-era economist who helped popularize the notion that tax cuts pay themselves through faster economic growth. He awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom to Arthur Laffer in a ceremony Wednesday at the White House. We have the detail in this VOA report.
In his address at the White House ceremony, Trump praised the state of the U.S. economy and gave much credit for it to the economic policies promoted by Laffer and put in practice by former President Ronald Reagan.
Today our nation is stronger, our people more prosperous, and the world a much better place because of the brilliance and boldness of Dr. Arthur Laffer.
Laffer is best known for the so-called Laffer curve, a drawing he once made on a napkin to illustrate the relationship between tax rates and the amount of tax revenue collected by the government.
Art showed that if tax rates are too high, people stop spending and they stop investing. The result is less growth and lower tax revenues.
The theory, not originated by Laffer, has been popular with Republicans, but experts say there is no conclusive study to prove it. Critics also point out that the U.S. economy has grown in some periods when the top marginal tax rates were as high as 90%. Earlier Wednesday, the Federal Reserve, which is the U.S. central bank, announced that interest rates will remain unchanged for the remainder of the year.
So far this year, the economy has performed reasonably well, with solid fundamentals supporting continued growth and strong employment. Inflation has been running somewhat below our objective, but we've expected it to pick up, supported by solid growth and a strong job market.
Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell said the U.S. economy is expected to remain strong, but that it could change course due to trade developments and concerns about global growth.
We're quite mindful of the risks to the outlook and are prepared to move and use our tools as needed to sustain the expansion.
Economists expect that the central bank will cut the interest rates once or twice this year. For the first time in a decade, the federal fund rates affect the rates of consumer and business loans and can have an impact on the economy. Zlarica Hoke, VOA News, Washington.
A group of South African teenagers has assembled a four-seater airplane and is flying it across the continent. Aviation experts consider this a significant feat, one that will inspire teens who want to be pilots, engineers, or anything else. More in this viewer report.
17-year-old Megan Werner doesn't have a driver's license yet, but she's a pilot. Her You Dream Global non-profit helped a diverse group of 20 African teenagers assemble a light aircraft. Werner and some of her colleagues left Cape Town this week for a round-trip flight to Cairo.
If you're a teenager and you already built a plane, you can say to yourself, well, I built a plane when I was a teenager. What else can I do? And then for the teenagers flying it across Africa, just to be able to make a difference and show people what is possible is really inspiring.
Agnes Semela helped to assemble the fuselage for the kit aircraft, which the teens built under qualified adult supervision.
I know for a fact that my team did their best, their absolute best, and I'm very confident that this airplane will make it to Cairo and back.
During the maiden flight event, the South African teens saw their plane fly for the first time.
Seeing that now it's no longer about adult people engaging in this industry, but also young people can get involved in such projects. I think it's going to inspire a lot of people to actually join aviation.
With both her parents working in aviation, Werner's interest in flying is no surprise.
The plan is crazy enough. It doesn't need to be that crazy that my daughter must fly across Africa by herself. So I thought, no, I'll go and check that she's okay. Because I've got a bit more experience than what she has. And I'm there just to support them to make the right decisions.
For safety, 2 adult pilots will fly a second plane similar to the one the teens built for the trip from South to North Africa and back.
Obviously, fatigue plays a big role that we need to manage with the students so that we can make sure that they are always awake, that they're always sharp to be able to make the right decisions. This is going to stretch their limits.
The You Dream Global team will travel some 12,000 kilometers for the round-trip flight with stops in 11 countries. Along the way, they'll take other teenagers up in the plane to inspire them to also reach for greater heights. Marise de Klerk for VOA News, Eikenhof, South Africa.
Well, with that international news item, we've also come to the end of today's edition of the program Business Time, right here on Times Television, a magazine program where we bring you major business and economic news stories making headlines in the country. On behalf of the entire production team, my name is William Kumwembe. But always remember, if it doesn't make money, it doesn't make sense. Bye for now.